In our recent video on the emotional cost of nostalgia, I posed the questions, what and how do you collect? We had a great response, tons of comments that really cover the spectrum of collecting, and so today on the Videocast, I thought it'd be fun to go through and highlight some of the different ways that people collect, how collections are started, sustained, and even sold, and how that isn't always a bad thing. Now, these videos are being produced to promote my book, The Nostalgia Economy, which is now available over on our Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to the ebook and the audiobook, as well as dozens of exclusive videos. You can also click join here on YouTube and get access to the video version of the audiobook and monthly preview videos for just $1 a month. So, if you like what we do and want more, help keep all this going, please consider supporting us. Patreon.com/PixandPortraits. So far, a lot of what we've been talking about in these videos and the book is kind of negative. There are certainly many negative aspects around collecting, but I'd like to kick this video off with what I and many of you say is the most important part of collecting, and that is joy. If you look at your shelf and smile, if owning something brings feelings of warmth or peace, that's what matters. But how do you get there? Where do you start? For some people, it started years ago, it is sewn into the fabric of our characters, and our collection has grown with us, but others enter or re-enter later. I see this all the time in different collecting groups. Someone has developed an interest in collecting something and asks, where should I start? What should I collect? Generally, this is meant with some snark, which I get, but anybody looking to start collecting anything should ask themselves, why? What is it about this that I want? Sometimes this is an easy answer, the item itself. You're interested in how it looks or what it does for you. It can be to recapture something about your past, which is very common in retro collecting. Items can represent people or memories, and through owning them, we feel a connection to those things, who we used to be. It can be a financial investment, but this is a tricky one. There are collectible economies and markets, a lot of money in both buying and selling collectibles, but it's not that simple. If you happen upon something very cheap, like an old toy or game in a secondhand store that is worth a lot, great. Same if you get a limited or exclusive release, you can flip it, but there is no guarantee items will hold their value, let alone increase. The return on certain collectible investments is not great. You buy something for $80, 10 years later it's worth $100, and that's if you can find a buyer. Collectible markets assign values or prices to items, but that doesn't mean that is what you're going to get for it. Depending on the item, it may be worth a lot to certain people, appealing to a niche audience that maybe already has it, so it's hard to sell. We have a whole video on monetization, so I don't want to spend a lot of time here on the financial aspect of collecting, but one thing that came up in the comments on the other video was collecting within your means, and I think that's very important. It is real easy to get into something and just completely let it consume you. Gotta catch them all, gotta have it all. You rack up debt, you lose space, maybe even alienate people in your life with this obsession. Collections absolutely have the potential to become a burden if they get too big or too expensive to maintain. There were multiple comments about selling things for less or just getting rid of a collection because it wasn't worth the bother. But if you do want to start collecting, collect what you want. Collect what brings you joy. Who cares about retaining value? Collect something you love. Depending on whatever it is, there are likely levels, common items, popular items, rare and valuable. Think of the collection you want. What is more important, quantity or quality? Do you just want anything, or are you looking for something specific? Does it matter if you have a complete set, or are one or two items enough? For me, curation is everything. Personally, I like items that mean something to me, but flex collecting is something that is actively encouraged via social media and has definitely impacted a bunch of hobbies. Check out the thousands of dollars worth of stuff I have, but a collection doesn't have to be massive or expensive to be meaningful. Your collection should be a reflection of you, your experience, interests, and taste. As we've seen, collectible hobbies can be expensive, but set aside a budget. Monthly, you have X amount of dollars to spend. If there is something more pricey, bank the money, save it, take stock of what you have, and if something doesn't have that spark or has lost that spark, sell it. Get what you can for it and put it towards something that does get you excited. And that doesn't have to be collecting. For some collectors, the idea of parting with their collection brings a ton of anxiety and sadness. That's what we talked about last time, that emotional investment, but others have the ability to part with items and move on. They're happy with what they've amassed, the collection is done as far as they are concerned, or it's no longer bringing them joy. Why not cash out? In the past, I have sold and funded trips, moves to new cities, moves to different hobbies, starting new collections out of old ones. We grow out of things, just like we grow into them. We can feel an obligation to maintain and keep things, either from ourselves or others. This happens with inheriting items, but we don't have to. Collections can be fluid and ever-changing, pieces can enter and leave, and that's okay. Obviously, selling a collection isn't always a choice. Life happens, and you need money. You have to sell, which is awful. You can, of course, eventually buy back a collection if you have the want or means, but letting go is good sometimes, if it's on your own terms. Now, there were quite a few comments that addressed the last thing I'd like to look at. How do you collect? You don't. Some people were pretty direct in their disapproval of collecting, saying they didn't need items, that the relationships in their lives were what mattered. I don't think these things are mutually exclusive. Collecting isn't necessarily a replacement for human connection or a means of coping with loss or any other emotional baggage, but it is a luxury. Cost of living is high, living space is at a premium, and many don't have the means to spend money on anything but necessities. I have been there, might be again, and this can be frustrating. But, as some commenters pointed out, it is possible to live vicariously through the people who post their collections online. They can see things and remember, have that nostalgic reaction, or say, hey, that's cool, and it's enough. They don't have to sink their money into owning the specific item. Collections also don't even have to be physical. Collectors collect. It is a compulsion to gather. Yes, we talk about collecting objects, but what about collecting memories, experiences? These can be categorized and displayed in your mind, the same as items on a shelf. That's how I feel, at least. Let me know in the comments what you think. Again, feel free to share your experiences with collecting. How did you start? What advice would you give to somebody looking to get into collecting? If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share, and if you have the means, please consider supporting us. You can get access to dozens of videos like Immoral Media, Future Film, Century of Schlock, as well as my book, The Nostalgia Economy, Patreon, YouTube membership, super thanks, everything helps. As always, thank you so much for your interest in this channel, and thanks for watching. See you next time.